And we're live, everybody. Hello and welcome to another episode of This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly. My name is Ray. I'm a bearded man of real estate. And this is episode 360. That's right. We're coming up on 9 years of podcasting. The first episode was September of 2017. How about that? Welcome, everyone. We're broadcasting live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Clubhouse. And if you join us on Facebook and YouTube, I can display your comment and talk about you. Just like Olivier, he said, U.S. real estate is better than a soap opera. Yeah, we'll see why. We got some news about Zillow and Compass today. They're back in court. Not only that, there's a big team up of real estate brokerages that are doing something that I said they should do, but I think it's going to change the market, could change the landscape. And these are older brokerages, so we'll see. Plus, EXp made a purchase. We're going to talk about their purchase. What else is on? I mean, we got a lot of stuff on the dock. Oh, we have some cringe video that we're going to watch together. Oh, it's so cringe. It was on The Real Deal. If you missed it, stay tuned. I want you to be cringe with me. It's so bad. It was so bad. So we've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to kick it off. I should mention, I always mention this at the end of the show, but maybe I should mention it at the beginning of the show. You can add your voice to the podcast on Clubhouse by going to bit.ly/REN Clubhouse. bit.ly/REN Clubhouse. If you want to join the show live right now and add your voice, you're more than welcome to. We also have the replay on there, so if you don't catch it live, you can always catch the replay. The audio quality is okay on that. They haven't quite figured out the audio mix whenever somebody's going through a roadcaster and also broadcasting at the same time. It's a little bit, it's iffy. But yeah, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things so that you're notified of when we go live. If you want to add your voice live, if you can. All right, let's jump into the first news story. But actually, you know what? Before we get into the actual news story itself, I created a bit of a backstory for this one because I feel like the new Compass/Zillow lawsuit, if you just jump right into it without the context of everything that's happened to bring us up to this point, then I think you're going to miss the gravity of what I think this battle actually is. So, let's have a story time.
Zillow versus Compass. A bit of a backstory. Once upon a time in the great kingdom of American real estate, the homes all flowed through one mighty river, the MLS. And at the mouth of that river sat Zillow. Zillow did not build the houses. Zillow did not sign the listing agreements. Zillow did not sit at the kitchen table with nervous sellers deciding when, how, and whether to go public. But Zillow did something perhaps even more powerful. It became the window. Millions of buyers came to peer through it. The listings drew the crowd. The crowd became leads. And in one of the more impressive business tricks of the internet age, those leads were sold back to the agents whose listings helped summon the crowd in the first place. Not bad work if you can get it. Then came Compass. Compass looked at the old arrangement and asked a dangerous little question. What if every seller does not want to march straight into the town square? What if some sellers want privacy first? What if they want to test demand quietly? What if going public too early creates days on market, price reductions, and a story the seller never intended to tell? So Compass began building, not merely a brokerage, not merely a brand. Power. Latter and Blum, Parks at Properties, and Christie's International Real Estate, Washington Fine Properties. And then the great prize, Anywhere, with Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Sotheby's International Realty, and more. One by one, Compass gathered agents, offices, luxury influence, local market share, and most importantly, inventory. Because a private listing network with a few listings is a curiosity, a private listing network with national brokerage scale is a threat. And that is when the air changed. Compass rolled out its 3-act seller strategy: private exclusive, coming soon, then the full public debut. To Compass, this was seller choice, a quieter opening act before the big premiere. a way to preserve privacy, control timing, and perhaps create leverage before the market stamped the home with the dreaded marks of public exposure. But Zillow saw something else. Zillow saw listings slipping behind a curtain. And curtains, as you might imagine, are not ideal for a company that makes its living being the window. So Zillow drew a noble-sounding line. If a listing is marketed to any buyer, it should be available to every buyer. A beautiful phrase. But tucked inside it was a very practical demand. If a listing is marketed anywhere, it had better find its way back to Zillow. Compass pushed back. Northwest MLS became an early battleground. The private exclusives book appeared in Compass offices like an old-world artifact in a digital war. Come inside, sit down, and see what has not yet been released to the open web. Then Zillow sharpened its blade with listing access standards. Compass sued. Zillow defended. The courtroom doors opened. For a moment, it looked as if the forest might quiet down. Compass failed to block Zillow's rules. Zillow softened its position and launched Zillow Preview, its own portal-friendly version of pre-market exposure. Compass dropped the lawsuit. A truce? No. A pause between storms. Because then Compass made its move with MRED's private listing network. And now, the little private room had a much larger door. This was no longer just Compass keeping Compass listings inside Compass walls. This had the makings of an MLS-backed private marketplace with national ambition. And Zillow, sensing the ground shift beneath its feet, struck back. So now, we are back in court. Zillow. Compass. MRED. 3 names. 1 question. Who controls the front door of real estate? The seller and the agent they hired? Or the brokerage building the strategy? The MLS managing the marketplace? Or the portal that became powerful by standing between the listing and the lead? And there, dear friends, is where the story pauses, because the quiet listing in the back room may have become the loudest fight in the industry.
And there we have it, a full update for you. Thank you, David Attenborough sound-alike, I guess. But there you go. That brings us up to today. So if you've ever missed it, if you ever want to know if somebody's like, what's going on with Compass versus Zillow, just send them to this part of the podcast. Tell them to watch the first couple of minutes. And there it is. So Jack Etter said the beard is getting long. I thought about trimming it the other day, but I haven't yet. This is all. You like it, Jack? You like the David Attenborough guy? Matt Lamar says, bro, your voice changed. A bit of a backstory.
That was pretty cool. Nice little synopsis.
Thank you, Rick. It was good.
It was good. 2 weeks of groundbreaking technology going here.
I mean, there's all kinds of groundbreaking technology that we have now to pull out that kind of production level in this tiny show. Are you kidding me?
Outstanding.
What if I told you that was me, Matt? What would you say then? A bit of a backstory. Oh, was it me? Do you know? Was it? Oh, can you tell? All right. There's a couple of people that have something to say, but moderators, I want to make sure that you guys know and remember to make sure that they have actual profiles and bios and links, and you can verify that they're real humans before you let them up. But okay, so we have a lawsuit that's happening. Just announced. Zillow sues Compass and Chicago's MLS over the private listing battle. And this is a little different from, and that's the reason why I wanted to bring you up to speed with the a bit of a backstory. Because if we didn't have that, then we're just looking at this saying, okay, it's just another lawsuit. I don't think so. I think this is actually a really big deal because it's 2 main players that they haven't had in the lawsuits yet. Previously, it was Zillow versus Compass, Compass versus the MLS. Zillow and MLS were kind of on the same page. Saying like, oh, we can't have private listing networks. If you have a private listing network, then you circumvent the MLS. But this is a different situation. In this situation, the MLS is actually teaming up with Compass to create the private listing network. And they're taking it nationwide. So now Compass would be left out in the cold. Remember, Compass made its, or not Compass, I'm sorry, Zillow would be left out in the cold. Zillow made its money off of real estate agent data, uploading to Zillow saying, hey, we're going to market the properties for free for you. And then they turn around, they sell those leads back to the real estate agents, sometimes the listing agents, mostly the buyer agents. So this, Zillow basically has to sue. If Zillow does not sue, then they are at risk of their whole business model just crumbling. Oh, what's up? Big Boy Bill. It's a salesperson from North Shore, Massachusetts, looking to get licensed in ME soon. Love your stuff. Well, thanks for joining the show, man. You could probably connect with somebody else in that area, right?
That's me.
Yeah, that's Jack. So Jack Adderidge in the comments over on YouTube. Y'all should connect.
Yeah. Big Boy Bill.
Big Boy Bill. So that's his username. I'm not just saying it's for the audio listeners. I guess audio listeners may think that I'm looking at a photo of the guy saying, "Oh, it's a Big Boy Bill." No. It's just his avatar in his name. All right, so so the Compass International Holdings and the multiple listing service serving the nation's third largest real estate market illegally conspired to threaten to cut off Zillow's access to listings in the region, harming consumers in the process. Zillow wrote in a new antitrust lawsuit filed on Tuesday. Now, okay. And every time I increase the camera size, for some reason, it takes a couple of seconds to, I got to send a support ticket to StreamYard. Anyway, I disagree with how a lot of this is framed. I think I've made my stance fairly clear in that the agents should be doing what their clients want them to do. If you look at this fight like Compass representing the sellers, Zillow representing the buyers, then I think you have a better understanding of where each party is coming from. Because Zillow is saying, well, the buyers should be able to find everything on the market. Zillow is saying, well, a property owner shouldn't have to market on your website. If they don't want their home on your website, they shouldn't have to market on their website, and there shouldn't be additional penalties that they can't talk about it publicly if they don't want it on the Zillow website. So that's a very basic summation. Reference the full backstory we just talked about. But whenever we're talking about this from the Zillow perspective, think about it like from the buyer perspective, Compass perspective, think about it like the seller perspective, then I think you get where the clash is. So when they say consumer, when Zillow is saying it hurts the consumer, what they're really talking about is it hurts their buyer clients, because if the seller doesn't want it on Zillow, then it's not hurting the seller because that's the choice they're making. They don't want it on there, so they don't have to have it on there, and it's not hurting them if they don't want it on there. Or if it is hurting them, that's the choice they're making. That you could make that argument as well. All right, let's go back to the story. The lawsuit's latest signal that the real estate industry remains engulfed in debate that could determine how, when, and where listings are marketed moving forward, with potential impacts on portals' access to listings in markets across the country. This action seeks to restore competition and transparency in residential real estate, Zillow wrote. In recent years, some powerful players in the real estate industry, such as MRED, Chicagoland's monopolist multiple listing service, and Compass, the country's largest real estate brokerage, have erected barriers to information that harm or threaten sellers, buyers, and competitors by hiding real estate listings behind a velvet rope private listing network, Zillow wrote in a complaint. The lawsuit provided new details that show Zillow faces a threat of losing access to the growing share of real estate listings. It's the lifeblood of its business. The lawsuit is a continuation of Zillow's effort to prevent the spread of what it calls insidious private listings, which it says are harmful to consumers, but makes clear that the portal faces a growing threat over access to the listings that fuel the source of revenue. In the complaint, Zillow acknowledged that the partnership between MRED and Compass made it impossible to enforce its listing access standards in Chicagoland over the threat of losing access to MRED listings. This is the key. This is the difference. The listing access standards threat that they just eased, like, what was it, a week or two ago? They just changed this. The reason why this is a big deal is because an MLS is involved. they don't really have any power. So what does that tell you, MLSs across the country? If you take back control of your data, you have the power, and not this multi-billion-dollar company that, in my opinion, could be negatively impacting the affordability of housing. But, that's a different story. But this multi-billion-dollar company that has charge over all of our data because we've given it to them, whenever you take back control of your data, they have no leg to stand on. So they can no longer negotiate that, hey, we are the ones that control the buyers. They no longer have that power. So this is significant. Last month, MRED announced it was expanding nationwide, and Compass said that it would subsidize the cost to join for up to 100,000 of its agents. A week later, RealTracs and the MLS serving the Nashville area followed suit, also in partnership with Compass. Zillow also wrote on May 8th, Compass terminated all of its direct listing fees with Zillow. However, the company maintains direct feeds with the MLSs directly and said no listings are missing from the portal. So Compass sounds like they've been playing chess, right? They're in the background. Compass has terminated Zillow's direct feed access to more than 25% of the current listings in Chicagoland and ratcheted up its conduct from Chicagoland to nationality. It terminated the direct feed to Zillow, but it did not terminate the feed to the MLS that feeds to Zillow. So nothing is taken offline, factually. Zillow wrote on May 5th, MRED threatened to cut off Zillow's listing feed from the MLS after Zillow suppressed Compass listings in Florida, Georgia, and California. So MRED was like, hey, if you cut off somebody's listings to your website, we're going to cut you off. Two can play at this game. When RealTracs expanded nationwide, it too changed its rules to require Zillow to display listings that violate its private listings policy or lose access to the feed. In effect, this is like such big news. And more people should be talking about it. This is huge news. These things that are being played. The MLSs are basically saying, no, Zillow, we actually do control the data. And if you mistreat another MLS member like this, then you're cut off. And so the exact thing that they were trying to do a month and a half ago to cut people off from their website. Oh, you can't do that, or we're going to cut you off. Now the MLSs are like, actually, we're going to cut you off. And now Zillow has no power. See how fast that changed? Last week, an MLS serving Los Angeles known as the MLS Claw made a similar change that Zillow said mirrored those made by MRED and RealTracs supported by Compass. So all the MLSs are starting to figure this out, saying, wait a minute, no, Zillow, you can't do that. You're actually under our control because we control the data feed. Now, this goes back to my meeting with NAR. When was that? In March? This goes back to my meeting with NAR where I brought up, why don't we have a national MLS? We need a national MLS because we need to control the data. We need to, if somebody inquires about a property, they should go to the listing agent, list that property at that firm, or at least go to that broker and let the broker make the decision of how that lead is transferred. And they didn't disagree. They said, we can't. They said, if we turn on the public feed, all of the NAR, RPR stuff, all the data feeds that we have access to go away. Because the MLSs control the data. Now, this should be comforting and also a little scary for real estate agents, because that does mean that as soon as you put your data into the MLS, they control that data. The interesting thing about this is the strange bedfellows, where Compass is teaming up with the MLSs instead of the MLSs being against Compass. Instead of Compass saying, we're not going to put our listings on the MLS, we're going to put them in our own private listing network. Compass is essentially cozying up to the MLS to use them and their technology as the private listing network, which is comforting the MLSs and giving them the power to push back against Zillow. And part of me wonders that after the Zillow fight is fought, will there be a fight between Compass/Anywhere and the MLSs, where Compass/Anywhere is like, hey, thanks for taking them out and getting these rules in place. By the way, using that same rule, we're going to have a private listing network separate from you. What I think is more likely is Compass buying a big MLS and then just starting to create its own national MLS. I mean, if MRED just went national and a couple of others are saying they now have national reach, then why couldn't Compass buy those and consolidate them? And now there is a national MLS. It's a vision. It is a vision of the future. And if they do that, then they control the data. What's NAR going to do then? That's interesting. Whole other interesting conversation. And I think maybe we were looking at this all wrong. Originally, we were thinking, well, how are these MLSs going to partner up? How are all these MLSs around the country going to actually come together? Because they can't really there's too much politics involved. There's too many moving parts. There's too many different situations. And you don't really need the local boards to join. You just need a better MLS to enter that everybody starts putting their stuff in. And then the other MLSs are completely obsolete all of a sudden. That's the threat. The threat is Compass says, hey, MRED is now available in Texas. And I don't know if they are. They may already be there. But MRED is now available in Texas. It costs nothing to sign up. Just enter your stuff in there. It goes to a consumer-facing website to, I want to search for myhome.com. And it's probably going to be a better home search than that. But people can go there and search. Whatever lead you get is just going to come to you. We're not going to do anything with it. We don't even track the data. If they are going to track the data. But if they did something like that and said it's of no charge, just put it in there. Don't worry about, you can have a toggle that says what you want it to go to Zillow, it'll go to Zillow. You want it to go to realtor.com, it'll go there. There's a toggle. You want it to be kept on the private listing network there. If you want it to be kept on the broker only network, so only members of your brokerage can see it, you click there. Right? And then they open up. And then what? Right? The local MLS is going to be like, well, we're done. That fast. You know how many people signed up for the private listing network for area? Tons. It never really got off the ground, but they didn't have the backing of a multi-billion-dollar company.
How many MLSs are there again?
There's over 500, maybe 400 and something. There's around 500 MLSs around the country.
I mean, there's no way that they could ever get on the same page.
No.
I mean, that's the Achilles heel right there.
Yeah.
Or else somebody would have figured it out. And when the MRED thing came up, I think I put that on our contributors chat that this could be the beginning of the national MLS.
Yeah, I agree. I concur with you. And it's not it's not the way I thought it was going to be. What I thought was going to happen is you're going to have consolidations of these big MLSs are going to start consolidating around the country into these big regionals, and then the big regionals will become state because state rules and stuff. But what I think is actually going to happen now that I'm seeing these couple of MLSs that are just saying, hey guys, we're nationwide. And then they get support from Compass, which is, 25% of the market now with Anywhere. Then, you only have to have Real Remax join, Keller Williams. Who else is up there? Like the top 5 brokerages are on there. Then everyone has to join it. And then your local MLS is just screwed, right? If they're not keeping up, they're gone. It would be better actually for them to right now contact MRED and sell out. If they want to make money for the board or stockholders or however the MLS is situated in your area, that's how they have to do it, because fighting is going to be futile. Now, I think there's probably going to be a couple of different MLSs that do it because competition is going to be good And there's likely going to be, and we're going to talk about this in a second, there's likely going to be something at your brokerage that'll push it out to maybe one or two different MLSs, one or two different national home search sites. But I think there's going to be two or three in the future that say they're national, cover everything, and there's going to be a different, there's going to be a different, like a special deal, I guess, maybe not a deal, like a special benefits is the word I'm looking for, that if you join this MLS versus that MLS or all of them. Okay, let me keep going into part of this article. Man, this is such a big deal. In effect, the rule change requires Zillow to display, notwithstanding its standards, all Compass listings or risk termination of RealTracs feeds across all brokerages, Zillow wrote. In other words, RealTracs, like MRED, has agreed to use its control over their brokerage's listings to protect Compass's PLN. Now, you got to treat all your people, you got to treat them all the same. In its lawsuit, Zillow alleged that MRED and Compass, what I think is funny, you could take this sentence that Zillow wrote and just change the players, right? In effect, the rule change requires Zillow to display, notwithstanding standards, all Compass listings or threat termination of RealTracs feeds. You could say that they were threatening Compass to send them all their listings or terminate Zillow's feeds, right, across all websites. In other words, Zillow is using its control over the brokerage's listing on their website to fight against Compass's PLN. And it's the same thing. In a statement, Compass spokesperson said that Zillow was punishing agents for allowing their clients' wishes. Compass believes homeowners should have the right to decide how to market their homes. The industry is evolving to give consumers more choice, and we support that progress. Simple. It's hard for me not to argue with that. The weird thing is when people are like, but is the seller actually saying that? And they are. I have several sellers right now on our private listing network that are not ready to go live, nowhere close, but would love to sell it right now without doing anything. This article is also on Brokerage Media. If you can't get behind the paywall, it'll Emin. They give a rundown, which is nice, about wow, I'm stuttering. Why did I stutter all of a sudden? I need more coffee. For context, it has a brief timeline. I should have used this as the bit of a backstory, but I created my own. Anyway, Zillow launches the listing access standards restricting private listings. This was really the start of the fight. Actually, the start of the fight was clear cooperation. When clear cooperation happened, Compass came out and said, this is bull hockey, because we have people that don't want to put their listings on the MLS or necessarily on Zillow. And this requires us to do it within 24 hours. And that kind of went by the wayside. But it still allowed brokerages to market their listings among themselves.
And then all the misperceptions of clear cooperation.
Correct.
Just fueled the fire.
Yeah. Then April 2025, Zillow launched the listing access standards. April, Refkin urged at least 8 MLSs to cut off Zillow's data feeds. This was last year. October, MRED CEO Rebecca Jensen warns Zillow that it will lose Chicagoland data. January, Compass acquires Anywhere. February, Compass and Rocket partner. April 2026, MRED and Compass announced formal national partnership. And then May, MRED's feed distributor threatens to terminate Zillow's data access entirely. May 8th, Compass terminates all direct listing feeds with Zillow nationwide, so it has to go through MRED. May 11th, Compass emails North Carolina MLS, references the same May 20 deadline as MRED. May 12th, Zillow files suit. So that's where we are. Zillow's own website talks about this, of course. Let me see if I can find. They say that the conduct violates the Sherman Antitrust Act. So defendants conspired to threaten to cut off Zillow's and any other competitors' access to all listings, a critical input for competition in the industry, in a naked effort to coerce their competitors to abandon pro-transparency policies. But I mean, who died and made Zillow the judge, right? Zillow is basically saying we are going to try to enforce something that's not against the law, and we want to enforce it by altering the behavior on our website for just that one brokerage. And if you don't, if you are against this and try to punish us for doing that, we're going to sue you because it's antitrust. So if I don't understand how you, like the antitrust lawsuit against Zillow couldn't survive. So I think the antitrust against Compass that's for the same reason also can't survive. Hidden listings harm buyers. That's what Zillow says. Hidden listings harm buyers, sellers, and agents. And yet they want to hide Compass's listings. Let's just let that marinate. The message to Zillow was clear. Display Compass's private listings everywhere in the United States, or MRED withhold all Chicago listings from consumers on Zillow. Yeah. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, they could even write it into the MLS policy that if you are a member of the MLS, you have to treat all other members of the MLS equally. You can't discriminate on what listings to display through your feed. If you get the MLS feed, you get the MLS feed. I can't go through and say on my website, I want to show everyone's properties except Keller Williams. I can't do that. I don't think I can do that. I don't think Zillow should be allowed to do that either. Okay. Any other words on the current lawsuit before we move on to something that's complete cringe? No? Okay. I know you're all excited about this next bit.
Like, what's the end game? How does this could be the best prediction question at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess there are so many competing, I don't know if it's competing interests or competing goals that people are trying to achieve. Maybe that it's just we just gotta wait and watch.
Yeah, I guess my question is the end game for whom? I mean, the end game for consumers should be that they can market their listings how they see fit. I think that's the best possible scenario for all sellers in this deal. For buyers, I mean, you don't own the home, so you don't have rights over that property, period. So I don't think buyers have rights to force a seller to put it on some website for the buyer. That's not accurate. So buyers just have to make better decisions of what agents to work with. And either you work with an agent that works and develops relationships to find the off-market properties, or you don't. The end game for Compass is complete control. If Compass can control their own data, then they will be the first ones since Zillow launched to push back against a giant that's charging agents 40%. For the consumers out there watching this, if you go through Zillow to a real estate agent, Zillow's going to get paid about 40% of what you're paying that agent. So you're paying Zillow. And if you think that agent's going to give you a better deal? I think that's one of the reasons why when the lawsuit went through, the settlement went through with real estate agents where commissions were supposed to go down for real estate agents. At the same time, all this commission compression started happening where agents have additional fees. We have higher referral fees. Zillow started going up to 40% instead of 30%. And you think an agent is going to be more willing to like give you a discount? No. If half of their money is going to Zillow, there's your discount. They're already getting paid half of what they would have if you would just called them. So go ahead.
It'd be great if we could see everybody's whiteboard as to how they'd love to, Refkin's whiteboard. What would you like to, if you could just design it from scratch?
Yeah.
Instead of going through the lawsuit route that's inevitable. Yeah. Let's find the answer instead of fighting everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I really think Zillow's problem is going to be when NAR comes out on behalf of property owners and says sellers should be able to do what they want with their property. That's NAR supports property owners. They don't support property buyers. And they try to make it as fair as possible for property buyers. But in the end, they're going to support the rights of a property owner to do what they want to do. And previously, NAR hasn't come out and taken a stance against any of this stuff. But I think they're going to have to eventually, because it's going to become a property rights issue.
Well, it seems like they've been more pro rules than pro consumer for a long time. And maybe this is the response from the new NAR.
I completely agree. I think the stances they're going to take are more hands-off than they've ever been, more let the market figure it out than they've ever been, because that's the way they keep out of trouble with the court. What gets them in trouble is when they put something in place that then goes against a right or creates an anti-competitive slant, or that's when they start to get sued. So if they're trying to take the position that they want less lawsuits, then they're going to look at this and say, yeah, we think property owners should have the right to market a property how they see fit. And they'll probably file an amicus brief. And that's about it. And let the courts and let the law handle it.
Yeah, I mean, they liked the idea of a national MLS when you brought it up in person, but couldn't have just taken themselves further away from it. They wanted nothing to do it with being part of it.
They can't. I think everyone in that room thinks it's a good idea. No one came out and said, yeah, we want that. Right. So I just want to be clear on that. But everyone in the room said, well, if we were going to do that, here's how we would do that. And because of this rule, we can't do that. So that tells me they thought about it. Their partnership with Realtor.com tells me that they're not cozying up with Zillow. So, I think the more that Zillow makes these moves, it shows that they actually lack the power. They may fall a lot faster than we think. When Zillow goes from forced, you have to put it on our website, to now we have to have a value proposition to get real estate agents to want to put it on their website so we can sell back leads that they've already, right? Like that's a different company. That's a company that's serving a buyer and serving a seller in a different way, and not a forced, hey, we have all the data because we're also members of the MLSs. That's been a forced data aggregation. Now, if that goes away, now they have to convince real estate agents and brokerages to work with them. Now they have to have a value proposition that's both good for the real estate agent and good for the consumer. And that's not going to be take 40% of your money. So I'm anxious to see all the teams, flex teams and stuff like that that's out there. I am curious how this is going to impact them too, because they've got to be watching this and thinking, well, if Compass takes 25% out of the possible inventory for my clients that are coming through Flex, then what do I feel about it? So they're going to be looking at this saying, well, I support Zillow because they're making a lot of money off Zillow. Zillow's making it really easy for teams to expand across the country by being a Zillow Flex person and just taking a bunch of leads off the website. So, and I also find, I have good friends that also do podcasts like this, but there is a obvious slant with those who are in the Zillow Flex program and those who are not. And the ones who aren't, I'm finding, can kind of look at both sides of the issue and make a determination. I am not, but the ones who are in that program are very much slanted towards their own income goal. So I challenge all of them to actually look at this and see how the market's changing and realize that maybe Zillow Flex is the antiquated solution. Maybe that is the one that's kind of behind the times. So, okay. Now for my next trick, I am going to play some. This is the real deal. The real deal I don't cover very often because they are more of a drama feed. It's like a TMZ of real estate. However, occasionally they have some very interesting stuff. And this is back on the Compass Talk. Pam Liebman is the president and CEO of the Cochrane Group, had a standoff against best Friedman, who's the CEO of Brown Harris Stevens. And I'll play it, and then we can kind of talk about it. I may talk over it. I don't think it'll get struck down, but this is at the Real Deal's Brokerage Boardroom. I just found it really interesting. All right, let me share this tab instead, and let's put it up here. Let me move myself a little bit. Nope, it's not a good one. Yeah, that's good. All right. Here we go. It goes right into the fight. It's a pretty quick cut.
Put some money where your mouth is?
Sure.
$1 million.
$1 million what?
That Corcoran will not be Compass at any time in the next however many years you want to put on that.
Saying Corcoran will never be Compass because they're already owned by Compass.
Bess, you're owned by Will Zeckendorf and Arthur Zeckendorf. Should I call you the Zeckendorfs? They don't even give you their projects. So, I mean, hello.
Ouch.
Two
What
of
a
New York's
burn.
most powerful brokerage CEOs, Corcoran's Pam Liebman and Brown Harris Stevens' Bess Friedman, just went head-to-head at the Real Deal's NYC forum. The flashpoint? Corcoran's acquisition by Compass, and whether that changes who controls New York's listings.
So much like, I just interject, much like Real's acquisition of Remax, and then Real saying, hey, we're just going to support Remax on the back end, hopefully make it a better company and let Remax be Remax, and, you know, keep its 40-year brand and keep a lot of the franchise deals in place and all that stuff. When Compass bought Corcoran, it kind of had the same thing. We're going to let Corcoran be the same, you know, who they are. We just own them, and we can help the back end and, you know, maybe improve some stuff. So that's kind of where they sit now. Bess is basically giving her crap about being owned by Compass. And she's taking a stand saying, no, we will never be Compass. And, you know, to her credit, she departs from Compass on some beliefs. And they'll talk about that right now.
The number one company in New York for so many years.
But you guys are now owned by Compass.
You know,
That's what you call a wig snatch.
It's not just about who owns what. Compass has been building its own private listings network, which Friedman says is bad for the industry.
Since Pam is now on the board and a part of Compass, she should encourage Compass, Rob, to make sure that they take down the wall for the private listings network and share those listings with everyone.
we don't have private listings at Corcoran. I believe this is a client-first business, and clients have the right to choice. No one should tell someone how to sell their apartment or their home. And
Okay.
this
So if that's the case, they don't have private listings at network. So if you wanted to do it in a private listing, or they don't have a private listing network at Corcoran. So if you want to do a private listing, I guess you go somewhere else. Jack, yes, that is what she said. He said, that's what you call a wig snatch? Question mark, question mark. Yes, that is exactly what Bess said.
So these guys are in Manhattan, which had the last frontier of no MLS, no, you know, every listing was a pocket listing until like 5 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Zillow didn't even have an inroads in that area because of that at the time.
And it's why there's a little bit of hypocrisy in anybody that's ever done, you know, more than 50 deals. One of them had to be off market.
Yeah. I find it's interesting that she says they don't have a private listing network, but yet I guarantee that every single one of her agents that's doing a good number of business has private listings currently.
Okay.
They just don't have a network
So-
to share it.
Exactly. That's exactly it. As somebody who is connected to a Corcoran brokerage, I mean, yes, they do have pocket listings. They do have
Right.
listings that are held back because of the level of clientele that a lot of their agents have, because they are a luxury brokerage.
Yeah.
That's a luxury thing. So they don't have a technical, you know, network like Compass has built, but they do have a back end group of private listings that's unofficial. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'm sure they have a brokerage network, which you could argue is private listings. It's just allowed by the clear cooperation policy. So they don't have an illegal private listings network, but I guarantee the brokerages and the locations, they have a list of properties that are not available to the public for whatever reason. It could be remodels. It could be just not ready yet. It could be privacy of the seller. Multitude of reasons, but I guarantee it's there.
Yeah, when you have multimillionaires as clients, they don't want every Joe Schmuckatelli seeing their house,
Yeah.
apartment, condo, whatever, on the MLS or even on Zillow, wherever. They don't want it out there for anybody just to see, because a large majority of people aren't going to be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Honestly. So, I mean, yeah, there is an exclusionary part of that because you can't buy it. You know, they don't want you to see it.
That's what you call a wig snatch. Sorry.
I continued the conversation because I didn't want to hear about what was disturbing in the next part of in the next segment. But I think I'm ready for anything. I mean, we need a new scandal or something to take this off the map for a while.
Let's go. All right, hang on. There is something coming. We have a big thing coming. But I had to get through the cringe first because it's on the same topic of Compass. So we had to. Let me finish their thing.
Banning nonsense with Street Easy and Zillow, to me, that's criminal. I don't know. When did all of you start working for Zillow?
But how does the
Okay, wait, hang on. She just said, when did all of you start working for Zillow? You shouldn't be illegal to ban against Street Easy or Zillow. So while they don't have a private listing network, she does stand on, why are you guys working for Zillow? Why are you saying that we should share everything on Zillow and such?
the lack of transparency to consumers, what about them? They're the ones who are paying the price. When you sell a car, as I said to you yesterday, the odometer, you can't lie about the miles.
This is a dumb comparison.
That was dumb analogy. That's not even.
It's so bad. It's like saying that would be more applicable to hiding foundation issues that you know about, right? That's what that is.
Yeah, or the roof of the edge of your roof.
Correct.
You know?
But listen how she compares it.
The same thing with the days on market for price discovery.
When you go in,
no, you can't you can't see how long a car has been on the market. I mean, because it's like, hey, this is our 2026. But when did that come out? Did it come out in 2026 or did it come out in August of 2025? Like how long has it been sitting on their lot? What are they paying on, monthly? You don't know any of that stuff when you go buy a car.
to a car dealer and you find a car you like, you don't get to say, how long has it been on the lot?
Well, you get to say that, but they don't have to tell you.
Shouldn't we be able to?
No.
No, but how do you have real value discovery without that?
Hire a good
How do you have price discovery without that? She says, and Pam says, hire a good
broker.
broker.
They'll get you price discovery.
No,
Hire a good broker. They'll get you price discovery. That's the argument. If you're working with a professional, then you have the price discovery.
and you're controlling the market. The market works its best when you leave it alone and give accurate information into it.
That's not true.
Who is she talking to?
So that's Bess, and she says that she's saying that the market works best if you leave it alone and put all the information into it. And that is not true. That's not how markets work at all. I mean,
she sounds like she's like a crash bro or something,
Yeah.
Like what in the world? Like that, this is sideways information.
Yeah, I mean, it's basic market economics. But I think what she's trying to say is that it's good for consumers to have all of the information, to see everything. And maybe, but which consumer, right? If you're talking about the buyer, yeah, it's better for the buyer to have all the information available. It's better for the buyer to have everything that they know about the properties all available, all up front, so they can just look at it, make decisions. The agent can help them make those decisions. Yes, that is better for the buyer. Is that better for the seller? Maybe not. Maybe it's not better for the seller. As a matter of fact, I sold a property one time. The guy said, I don't want any of the photos online. And I said, I have to have one exterior photo or I get fined. And he said, I'm willing to pay your fine. And I was like, can I have one photo? And he said, fine, I'll give you one photo. So we sold it with one photo. This is how it worked. Someone would call and say, hey, I see this property. My clients want more photos. And I said, the seller is very private. You don't want any photos of his house online. And the agent was like, well, how do I know if it's right for my buyer? So you schedule an appointment and go see it. And the agent was like, oh yeah, okay, so when can we do that? and the guy sold. It was fine. He never had any photos except for one exterior photo. He never had any photos of the property online. And it was like the agent was remembering their job. Like, oh yeah, we could just book a showing and go see it. Like, yeah, that's what you do.
It's almost like she wants all that information so that her job is actually what
Easier.
They say as easier.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, even with all that information, your job isn't necessarily easier, because sometimes the information you get is not great information. It's not useful information, and it could take, a small tidbit that usually most people don't worry about. One buyer that you're working with may decide that that's the most important piece of information, but in the end, it doesn't like sell the property, whatever, like not all information is good information, and it's not all needed.
Well, and you have the juxtaposition between like who are you representing with the information? I think it's better for buyers. Yes. Does it mean that buyers will pay a higher price? No. So should all of the information be out there? Maybe. There are certain situations in which I withhold until the right moment the seller's property disclosure, because I know if I were to put it out there, they got some stuff on there that needs some explaining, right? They got some, we had a roof repair, we had this leak and it looks terrible. But if the client goes and sees the house, they're like, oh yeah, I've seen the house. I know it's in great condition. It looks great. They look at the seller's property disclosure and they're like, oh, okay, that's why they have the brand new floors. That's why. But if you just had the seller's property disclosure, you might look at it and say, ooh, gosh, that was a lot of work that was done in that house. That house had a fire, right? That was a lot of work that was done in the house. So there's certain times that it's appropriate for you to get the information out there. It's not saying that you withhold it all for the whole time. It's just saying that sometimes it's not best to have everything out there all at once. You can have a tease. You can have something out there in the discovery of that information is the price discovery process for that buyer. How much are they willing to pay for a house that was remodeled after it had a fire? After they've seen the property, they love it. It all looks good. Hey, by the way, this had a fire and this is what the situation was. And they're like, oh, okay. There's other situations in which I think it's good to tell the buyer up front, this house has foundation issues. This is how it was fixed. So when you go in, this is what you're going to see and how you're going to see it, and disclosing all that information up front in some situations is better, because once they know that and still go to the house, then they're going to be sold on it. So it depends. And the person making that decision should be the real estate agent and the seller. And they should be determining how this information is out there. If they want the house marketed publicly, if they want the house marketed privately, should be a determination between the real estate agent and the broker. And it's not automatic.
Right. How many times have you shown a house that on paper didn't meet any of the criteria that the buyer wanted, but they walk into the house and they fall in love with it?
Never.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done that plenty of times.
I'm joking, Andy. I'm joking.
Yeah. Matt said never. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, they fall in love with the house. It doesn't meet almost any of their criteria, and you just say, hey, I'm going to throw this in because it's around the corner from the last one. And hey, who knows? You just got a feeling based off of the stuff that you've shown them that this might be an option. And you say, hey, I'm going to throw a crazy one at the end just to see if you guys like it, just to make sure. And they walk in and they absolutely love the house. I mean, that's your job, right? You're feeling them out. You've been showing them properties. You're seeing what they like and don't like, and what they like is not matching their criteria that they gave you initially.
Yeah.
So that way, too much information sometimes is not good.
Adam Johnson said, wait, so you're saying the market works best when we firewall information? Not technically. I'm saying the market works best when the seller and the real estate agent are deciding when the information should go out there. At times, like the sale of a high profile property, yes, firewalling the information is better. Market works best in general. Sealed bid auctions is a great example of when there's no market transparency, and it works well for both the seller and the buyer. So yeah, I think there's definitely times in which the market works best when not all the information is out there, but that decision should not be automatic. It shouldn't be made by legislation, rules, or litigation. I think it should be made by the buyer and seller. Let me finish this. I think it's over. Let me finish playing it real quick and see. I think we're at the end though.
to it. You don't lie and trick it. You don't manipulate it. No.
So lying and tricking the market is totally different, right? Withholding information is not lying and tricking the market. It's just not having all the information. And the winner in that situation goes to the ones who can get more information, right? But this is also not a scenario in which gatekeeping works. So there's a balance here. Gatekeeping information was old school real estate practice, right? We cannot give up our information. We have to keep this information, and that's how we make the sellers and buyers work with us. That will not work. If you are trying to gatekeep in order to get a buyer to work with you, I think they sense that. I think that's bad for the market. That's not a good practice. If you are withholding the information for something that benefits the client, that's when it works. And that is a delicate balance, but it's definitely not tricking the market. She went from withholding information to tricking the market. That's not the same thing.
All we're saying is a seller has the right to choose.
Seller choice is not when you say, hey, put in a private listing network.
Corcoran has never, ever encouraged that.
I hope that stays that way.
No one's telling me what to do. Okay.
Ooh-wee. And if they do, Pam, I got a job for you.
They were on the same page when it came to one issue, New York's proposed pied-à-terre tax.
I think this tax is a feel-good tax. I don't think it's going to bring in $500 million.
This is very bad for New York. We had so many deals that have been put on pause, particularly at the $30-40 million level, that are just wait and see.
We want people to feel welcome here. We want rich people to build here.
You can watch the full discussion on therealdeal.com and on YouTube now.
Yeah, realdeal.com and YouTube. The closing lines of like, nobody tells me what to do, and we don't have a private listing network. And when Beth says choice is not saying, hey, put it on a private listing network, choice is actually offering tools that your clients could use. So I would say choice is saying you could put it on the private listing network, you could put it on a pre-market campaign, you could also put it on the MLS completely, and giving your sellers those choice, I think, is wise. I don't have any problem with any of that.
What's interesting in the area that I'm focusing on right now, most of the agents don't comply with the rules there. And most of the sales, or a lot of the sales in Santa Barbara, are happening off market from let's say Compass to Sotheby's. And they're doing private sales, and it's almost like they're willing to risk the fine in that area because the sellers don't want to put it in the public market. So everybody's doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sean, what market are you in, Sean? What's your last name too?
San Jose. My last name's San Jose, but I live in Ventura County.
What?
And
that's so confusing.
That's awesome.
You have to move, Sean.
Dude, my SEO in 2010 was ridiculous.
How many referrals do you send to San Jose? I mean, I bet that's crazy.
Dude, well, back then my SEO was crazy, and I was so new, and I was only 22 years old when I got in the business. But I got several inquiries back then.
That's so good.
I'm changing my name to my market. So do it. SEO genius.
Hey, my name is Ray Arkansas. The last time I was at a Tom Ferry conference, Tom saw me. He was like, "What's up, Arkansas?" I'm like, "Man, I love being known as that because that's so great for SEO and referrals." So, well, thanks for joining the show, Sean, San Jose. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at this situation saying, "This is what my seller wants to do." So, rather winding up in court and trying to say, "Well, NAR told me to," or the MLS told me to, that just means that you can bring that other party in as a third party to that lawsuit for whatever happens, and it does not protect you. So I think, a lot of agents are just going to do what their seller tells them to. And then when another player in the marketplace or someone else tries to sue them for that, they have the paperwork to say, well, my seller didn't want to be a part of that. So I did what my seller wanted me to do, which is my fiduciary duty. I think also, Sean, they may be doing a lot of brokerage inside broker sales, which is allowed by the Clear Cooperation Policy.
Yes, that's allowed, but a lot of the sales also are happening from different brokerages too. It's like a super tight-knit community. And so when someone has a buyer, they're talking to other realtors. Hey, you got anything coming
Yeah.
up, or do you have anything in private inventory right now? And then they're
It's like drug
showing
deals.
yeah, it's crazy,
Hey
dude.
man,
It's so dumb.
you got the flour, I got the dough.
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, but it's also, Sean, a competitive advantage for you as you develop those relationships, get a couple of the listings, then all those agents are going to be coming to you, right? So it is a way for you to develop that competitive edge over an agent that's not been doing it 20 years. That's, people are still trying to find that guy in San Jose. Okay, so this is the other big deal we have to talk about. We're only going to have a few minutes to cover the economic news, but the good part about that is there's just not much economic news. But this is the other big deal. You remember a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was last week, I'll have to look. I said that the winner of the brokerage MLS race is going to go to the brokerage that says, hey, agents, you no longer have to ever input anything in the MLS. We are going to have a data feed that feeds the MLS. So all you have to do is enter it one time into our system, and we will match up with whatever MLS you're in, where the acreage goes and where the square footage goes and where the beds and baths go and all that stuff. And all you have to do is put it into our custom portal. And if you want it to be on the private listing network within the brokerage, the exclusive brokers network, you can. If you want to put it on the private listing network that goes out to other members of that private listing network, you just click that button. If you have another button that says Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, all those, you just click those buttons. You just tell us where it wants us to go. As a matter of fact, you can set up a time frame, and we know that, June 1st, it's going to go out to this feed. And then June 15th, it's going to go out to this feed, following the guidelines of the pre-marketing and marketing strategy that you set up with your seller. And I said the first brokerage that does that is going to win huge. Well, guess what? It's happening. Cotality, maybe Cotality, not fatality. Cotality launches brokerage listing exchange with Keller Williams and HomeServices on board. Cotality is basically a data management workflow company. So they have an enterprise-grade listing management platform that gives brokerages a single centralized environment to manage their listing data and control how it gets distributed across MLS portals, MLSs, and partners from pre-market all the way to close. HomeServices of America and Keller Williams are the first two brokerages to activate the platform. Please see the video that we did last week breaking down Gary Keller's angst against the keeping properties off the MLS and the private listing networks, as you remember that they just signed this deal with Cotality. Here's what's under the hood. Built-in RESO standards to keep listing data standardized, secure, and compliant through the listing lifecycle. Enhanced with Cotality's core AI functionality layered on top of tools that agents are already know and use, and native turnkey integration with all MLSs currently on the Matrix platform. Cotality plans to work with other MLS providers to expand connectivity across the industry. So, why HomeServices and KW are in? HomeServices and Keller Williams are the first major brokerages to adopt Cotality BLX. They're part owned by Stone Point Capital, same firm that strategic investment in Keller Williams in March 2025. For both companies, the decision comes down to a shared frustration with how the industry has historically handled listing data and a belief that centralized control is a path forward. Chris Kelly says, they're the president and CEO of HomeServices. Our priority is making sure agents and brokerages control their listing content from the moment it's created, not after it's been distributed and returned to them. For too long, the industry has operated in a fragmented model where brokers depend on others to access to use their own data. That needs to change. As the landscape evolves, ownership access and flexibility around listing data define competitive advantage. Through our work with Cotality, we're creating a centralized, intelligent environment to manage listing content. They're too right that it's so frustrating. Right now, we have a listing on Zillow right now that is listed in the wrong city. We have changed the city in the MLS. We've changed it back. We have added a period in the public remarks. We have changed photo order and everything to try to get Zillow to update the city. They refuse to update the city. They will not talk to us in support because I'm not a Flex team member. And so support refuses to help us. Emailing support offers zero help. And they say to please upgrade. I have to upgrade and pay them money in order for them to change and provide accurate listing data. The seller reaches out and they tell the seller, you must reach out to your agent. So
and this all happened when NAR sold Realtor.com.
Pretty much.
Or gave it away.
Yeah. So this Cotality could be a
Imagine that none of this would have been going on if that one thing didn't happen in the 90s.
Yeah, yes, but there's still going to be a lot of gatekeeping, you know. I'm not for the old school gatekeeping back in the day. I am for
Agreed. But that's what a website is for.
Yeah.
Realtor.com.
Right. Yeah. Well, and your own website, right?
Yes.
Chris Kazarnicki, CEO and president of Keller Williams, pointed to the feedback from agents and franchise owners as the driving force behind the decision. We heard clearly from agents and franchise owners managing listings across multiple platforms creates unnecessary friction and already fast-moving business, rapidly evolving industry. I mean, have ChatGPT write this for you, right? Our continued collaboration with Cotality is about simplifying one of the most important workflows in real estate listing management by reducing duplicate entry across platforms and creating more centralized experience. We're helping affiliated agents save time and gain greater control over listings while creating maximum exposure opportunities for the clients. Okay. That's, you couldn't be more corporate. But what I think is interesting is that there seems to be the ability to click a button in Cotality and manage it in a private listing network. Because they said from pre-MLS to close all the way through. So, Matt, really? I do. Sounds like you need to call my guy. So I do need for free. Yeah.
For $100, no. For a fee, not free. For $100, I'll share his info.
Every time I read that, it says free. For free, of course. For free, of course.
No,
yeah.
No, that's false advertising.
For free, of course.
No, I don't ever say free. Nothing's free. Nothing in this place is free.
How are you gonna pay for gas in your Porsche if you start giving stuff away like this?
Yeah. No, I do have I had a similar issue a couple months ago with one of my listings, and like you tried every other avenue I could think of, and then I called my guy, and he's like, "Yeah, it'll be fixed in like 3 hours." And I was like, "Okay, sure enough, it was."
All right. I'm gonna have to do that then.
For a nominal fee, you too can experience the same great service.
I feel like I could just lambast them on the internet, and maybe they'll come around. But I know they watch.
Maybe.
I know they watch because they'll announce something tomorrow or tonight that we should have covered today. But this article is also over on Inman. Same type of thing. The big question that I have is not addressed in any of this is, does this mean that Keller Williams will have a private listing network? They say that together we're creating a more transparent experience that benefits the entire real estate ecosystem. We'll see. I'm curious to know where this is going to go. All right, let's talk about EXP's purchase. So I do find this ironic for all my EXP friends out there, and I've got several EXP friends, love you to death. And some of you were reaching out to me a couple of weeks ago and were like, "You guys are a cloud brokerage. It'll never work when you buy Remax, which is a big franchise based thing. It'll never work. You can't do it." And to you, I say, it'll never work. You can't do it. EXp World Holdings acquires NextHome to create a multi-platform model. You guys got to be more in tune with what your leadership is doing. Okay. I mean, you should have known. Now I did have some other EXP friends that were like, "Hey, congrats buddy. It's great." It was fun. And us cloud guys, sometimes we like to stick together because it's different, but anyway, similar models, different culture. That's how I explain when somebody asks, what's the difference in EXP and Real? Similar model, different culture. But EXp World Holdings has acquired NextHome for an undisclosed amount, according to an announcement on Thursday. I would really love to know that amount because I feel like I mean, surely they would have had to have talks longer, but it does seem like 2 weeks after one of the biggest, Real becomes the number 2 brokerage in the country with the acquisition of Remax. EXP is like, us too. It does feel a little bit like yeah, we can too. Look at us. But I think this is also a sign that they're just getting started. Okay, so I would expect once they figure this out, once EXP looks at the franchise model that NextHome has, is like, all right, we can onboard them, we can use our tech to support them on the back end. Then I think they're probably going to eye some other brokerages. Leo Perea says, adding NextHome franchise models gives our agents and franchise owners maximum optionality, backed by a proven leadership team with now a unified world-class infrastructure and an expanded global network. Teams and agents need more paths forward. Industry needs companies led by people who don't just talk about being agent-centric, but live it. We're building a platform that supports multiple models because every agent, every consumer deserves choice. They all deserve choice, but they should all use us on the back end, right? James Wiggins and Ty T. Bashink co-founded NextHome in 2014, growing the firm to more than 5,400 agents and 500 franchises across the U.S. 5,400 agents, 500 franchises, roughly 100 or so per franchise. That's not small, but it's 145-ish, 144,600 short of the agent count for Remax. And I'm not saying that to say we're better. I'm just saying that so you can get a scope of what it is. This is why I think that's only their first one. This is why I think that they're probably in multiple talks with multiple companies to just bring on. So I think that's what you're going to see. What differentiates NextHome from most franchises is a flexible structure. Franchises can choose between 1 year and 5 year agreement. As of Thursday, they can choose between 2 tech stacks, full tech stack and a light tech stack. Full tech stack provides access to a full range of NextHome's tech offerings. Are those going to go away? Are they going to be enhanced by? They're going to be enhanced by EXP. So Remax's tech stuff kind of failed. So I don't think it was a question that they were teaming up with Real Broker to get the tech stack offered. But I don't know. I mean, NextHome, from what I understood, had a pretty good tech stack. So I wonder if they're going to continue to support that or how they're going to merge that together. James Twiggin says, joining forces with EXp World Holdings is a natural evolution for our humans over houses mission. NextHome founder and co-founder said in a prepared statement, by plugging into the most agent-centric real estate engine in the world, our franchise owners and agents will now gain access to unmatched depth, inventory, global network, and the kind of industry talent and influence that moves markets.
How big is NextHome?
Oh, that's what I was just saying. It's 5,400 agents.
Small.
Yeah. It's smaller than I thought, actually. They have a pretty big name for themselves for their size, to be frank. I think they have really great marketing because I thought they were bigger. But yeah, 500 franchises, 5,400 agents.
Yeah, EXP in California alone, last time I checked, we have 10,000 agents plus.
Yeah. That's why, all right. So like I said, I have several EXP friends. Also have real friends. And some of my real friends came from EXP. So they were like, it's only 5,400. But I'm telling you, this is the beginning. The clouds are going to acquire because they are cash rich. And they're making good money and they don't have the expenses that the other firms have. The question is, as they acquire, can they turn around those other companies and make them more profitable? EXP has 82,000 agents globally currently. So now with NextHome, 87,000.
It's really, they're probably just buying the tech is what they were after. It sounds like.
You think EXP is buying the tech, or do you think NextHome is selling so they can use EXP's tech?
Oh, I don't know. I
don't either.
I don't know.
I think that's a question. They did say they want agents to have a choice. I don't really understand that. Does that mean, I don't know, that kind of vague phrasing makes agents think, well, am I going to be able to go join this NextHome franchise down the street and use their offices? I don't love the vague phrasing, but wait, I just saw this. Scap said Cotality is the devil's spawn. You don't like Cotality? Why, Scap? Are you available on? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to figure my way out on stupid.
That's fine.
Anyhow,
finish your putt, and then tell me why.
No,
why
I'm actually driving right now. No, because Cotality used to be CoreLogic. That's what they were, and then they turned themselves into Cotality, and they're nothing but a data graph company. Again, they're like everybody else out there. They over the years they ended up acquiring a bunch of appraisal data companies, and then they ended up purchasing one of the biggest appraisal software companies called A La Mode, so that they could start gathering all the appraisers' data that was input into the system and sent through it, so they can even get more and more data to start using to their advantage, like everybody else. So, I mean, I use A La Mode. I wish I could switch to somebody else, but as soon as I can, I will not be giving any more money to Cotality and having them steal all my data and everything. But they're a terrible company. They've always has been, and they overcharge for everything. So that's why I don't like Cotality.
I thought you said Bilamo.
No, A La Mode, ALAMODE is it's an appraisal software company. It was one of the largest ones years ago. There's other ones that have come out, but it was one of the largest ones, and they actually basically got ahead of the tech movement and started incorporating a lot more newer tech into their software. And that's why Cotality went out, or CoreLogic at the time went out and bought it. And then once they bought it, they started implementing all sorts of new ways to steal data and use it for their AVMs and all their other crap.
Interesting. I wish it was Bilamo. For the Enrique Iglesias fans in the audience, they're singing in their head right now. They can't. And then you can just change it with A La Mode. When the river takes you over. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right, back on NextHome. The article is also over on Inman. And what's interesting is James Twiggins has a podcast on Inman. And so they talk about it on their podcast called The Real Estate Insiders Unfiltered. And his partner, Keith Robinson, was one of the people at the NAR gathering that I was at. Cool guy. A super nice guy. But yeah, y'all could go check out their podcast. Tell them that Ray sent you when they're there from This Week in Real Estate. And he'll hopefully he'll remember. But yeah, big deal. So there's a whole bunch of articles on this stuff. What's next and what does it look like? What's the merger? All that stuff's going to be figured out though, to be frank. So we'll see over time. I think we'll see probably when the deal is done. I wanted to hit this article too, what Real Compass and Zillow Q1 earnings say about where the industry is going. Real Brokerage keeps growing and then swings for the fences. Revenue at Real Brokerage is $465.6 million. It's up 32% year over year. Agent count is up 25%. Transaction closed are up 25%. Total transaction value is up 24%. Adjusted EBITDA 80%. And then the cash on hand is $62.9 million with no debt. There's statements and stuff, but we're going to skip those statements. One Real Mortgage, One Real Title, those grew by, double-digit growth. Real Wallet, the company's financial technology platform, grew revenue by 246%. I think this is public right now because the Real Connect is still going on, or just going on, but this may be breaking news. I think I can say this. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. $1 million was loaned in Real Wallet to agents. So Pretty cool. Was it $1 million or 12 million? It may have been. I'll have to look it up. But a bunch of money has been. I could be wrong. It could be 12 million. Anyway, Real Wallet's working, providing capital for agents to operate their businesses. Compass numbers: total reported revenue $2.7 billion, up 99% year over year. Pro forma revenue 7% year over year. Pro forma brokerage GTV up 7.3%. Transactions up 2.6%. And the net income, $22 million, compared with a net loss of $51 million in 2025. So they're up. Adjusted EBITDA is $61 million, and cash on hand is only $484 million. So much. That's crazy though. What's the next one? Zillow. Strong numbers and doubles down on its platform vision. Total revenue is $708 million, up 18%. For sale revenue, it's up 12%. Residential revenue up 8%. Mortgages 56%. Rentals 42%. Net income 8%, or $8 million. Net income margin is 6%. And then their adjusted EBITDA is at 20% year over year. So there you go. They're still growing, which also tells me they're probably not backing down from the Compass lawsuit anytime soon. All right. Real quickly, guys, I'm going to hit the econ news. Pending home sales hit highest level in 4 years. U.S. pending home sales hit their highest level since September of 2022. During the 4 weeks ending May 3rd, they rose 7.7% year over year. Housing costs came down temporarily. The U.S. median housing payment declined 2.2% year over year, as mortgage rates fell to 6.23%. There are more houses on the market, so the total number of homes for sale rose roughly 1% year over year. And then seasonality is kicking in later than usual. Now, the seasonality kicking in later than usual has been happening ever since the pandy. You remember that stall that we had in March? Everything was blowing up, and then it, like for 2 weeks in March, stopped. We told our clients, keep your home on the market, and then boom, after that ended, it just blew up. Like we had so many sales that March. Seasonality, though, the next year, the summer happened later. Do y'all remember this? Everyone was like waiting for summer to kick off, and it was like June and it was slow, and July it was slow, and then August and September it was like great. And we had a really good Q4 that year too. Ever since then, it's been slow. So slow compared to what is what I would say, because it's still, it is, the seasonality has moved, but it moved 2 or 3 years ago to now where it's always seems delayed now until after people come back. End of May, beginning of June is really when the selling season seems to be stronger. But there's this article that says America's housing market favors buyers, but their advantage is finally starting to shrink. So for the first time in a long time, it's advantage buyers, but that doesn't look like it's going to be lasting long. There was an estimated 46.5% more home sellers than buyers in the U.S. housing market in April. That's down from 47.5%, and down from the high of 48.9% December of 2025. It's still very much a buyer's market, but it is tightening, they say. And then home prices. Home prices posted the biggest increase in over a year in April, which is why the sellers still currently have the advantage. April jobs report is showing stronger than expected, reducing recession risk, likely to fuel the pop in housing demand. So jobs are up, incomes are up. Everyone thinks that they're doing terrible in the market, but the market overall, the economy overall is pretty strong, which is why they're not lowering rates. I do have an adjustment to my prediction because I was saying fairly confidently that based on the numbers early in the year, that it looked like the new Fed would come in and drop 50 basis points. I don't know if he's going to do that right now. These jobs numbers were too good. So I think a lot of people are pulling back on that. I saw several news articles saying that people are pulling back from their expectations, and I would include myself in that.
I haven't seen a buyer's market for like 15 years. No kidding. Since like 2010, 2011.
Yeah, It's been, I remember in
heat map articles.
We covered it on the show. I want to say 2019. They were predicting a buyer's market in 2021 and 2020. They were predicting this in 2019, and then the pandy happened.
Yeah, the 10-year cycle got rattled by that.
Yep. Eric says Vitality is the rebrand of CoreLogic. I thought it was Cotality. CoreLogic rebrand. CoreLogic rebrands to Cotality. No, it is Cotality. March 24th, 2025. But what is Vitality? I remember Vitality was something, right? Maybe they did a double. Oh, yeah. CoreLogic rebrands to Cotality. CoreLogic rebranded to Cotality, shifting from mortgage focused. Oh, that's weird. If you start to Google CoreLogic rebrand, it says Vitality in there in the search box. So something happened with that, but I can't find it right now. Anyway. Here's a LinkedIn post about it that says Vitality. The name combines collaboration with totality, and vitality. Their new tagline, intelligence beyond bounds. At the chagrin of SCAP. That's their new tagline. Okay, sorry. I got distracted. Thanks, Eric. We looked it up. All right. Home sales struck the same levels from last year, says Zillow senior economist. This was actually a pretty good take from this Zillow senior economist. I thought he was fairly accurate in what he said. We don't have time to watch it right now, but basically what he said is in the headline there. Home sales struck the same levels from last year. It's not much different. April home sales disappoint as higher mortgage rates weigh on buyers. Sales of previously owned homes in April were essentially flat compared with March, rising just 0.2%, 4.02 million units. So this is, again, that flat number. The part on this that the guy on Zillow says is that new home sales are actually up. So we are seeing an increase in that. Inventory rose in April 5.8% from March, but was up just 1.4% from the previous April to a 4.4 month supply. Still considered tight. In Arkansas, 4 to 6 months is a kind of balanced, maybe leaning towards buyer. The 3 month market is more seller market, but a 6 month market here is like drastic buyer's market. Like you can get closing costs and lower than list and the fence and whatever else you want. All right, last article. I just thought this was interesting. We're not talking about tiny houses. So if Christina Smallhorn's here, what's up? But it is tiny data centers. Tiny data centers may be coming to the homes of Americans in the future. Nobody, and we talked about this last week, nobody wants a data center in their backyard. 70-something% of people say, get these data centers out of here. I don't want them around here. And if you don't have the data centers, you got to keep the data somewhere. So we're going to keep it. Global spending on new AI data centers is up $7 trillion by 2030. Public opposition within the U.S. is growing. Maine's governor recently forced a veto law that would have banned new construction by hyperscalers. So the idea of putting data centers inside individual homes is gaining traction in the real estate industry. There's a pilot program with a Pulte group in California-based startups, SPAN, SPAN. Some experts think that shifting some of the load to the home grid could help rein in the controversial building boom by using existing infrastructure. But doesn't California already have brownouts in places?
No one lives there anymore, do they?
They do. Sean,
where's Dan?
Sean will tell you.
Come on, guys. Come on. Come on now. Best place to live minus the politics.
That's a big minus, Sean.
and taxes.
The weather. You can't beat the weather.
The weather is great. The weather is great. But do y'all have brownouts though?
Say that?
Do you have brownouts where you are?
No.
Okay.
Like the grid going down?
Yeah.
No, only when it's windy they shut down the grid.
Oh, because fire.
Yeah, I mean, our insurance costs went absolutely through the roof. It's insane. You know, insurance is such a cost. But anyways, for a median price point home in some areas, it's basically $6,000 a year to be on the California Fair Plan Act.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's hurt people, but I don't know. It's crazy. People are still purchasing. There's limited inventory. I think too many people are locked in at the low rate. So I'm hoping if rates get down to 5%, we hopefully will see more inventory and more movement at that point.
What is the average cost of a home where you are?
Median price point in Ventura is $900,000. In Santa Barbara and Montecito is like $5 million. Santa Barbara, I think, is at $2 million, or 1.5 right now.
Interesting. I wonder how this is going to work though. So let's say people start adding tiny data centers in their own house. I mean, you're going to need, if you don't want a data center in your area, you're going to have to maintain your own data center if you still want to use AI and all that jazz. So you're going to have some kind of data pass through data center. It's got to be there, or else you're going to have to stop using it. And you know what's going to get everyone over this, like, oh, don't build a data center, is when they're like, we're sorry, you can no longer use ChatGPT for the week because we've exceeded the limits of the data center and need to build a new one in your area. Then people are going to go, oh, okay. Well, how else am I going to find out how to make brownies? So
or there's not enough data transmission to your house.
Yeah, it'll be something like that. That'll turn people.
They're trying to put it in space. So I think NVIDIA just invested in this company called Space Cloud, I think is the name of the company. But basically they're putting 2 mile by 2 mile solar panels with the data center at the center of it. So they have free energy, they have the cooling system being in space. Yeah. But then I saw something where they're actually, another company is putting it in the AC unit. So the AC units are somehow going to be a data center and feed back that way.
Interesting. Okay, let me look into this article. This may be this company. Let me get to where the bottom. They're just talking about the issue in the first part of this article.
It looks like the main hubs though are like Syracuse or northern New York, also Huntsville, Alabama, and then Columbus, Ohio, is what something like that. I think it was Micron going into Syracuse.
Oh, here. At the same time, the idea of putting data centers closer to consumers, even onto and into their homes, is gaining traction in real estate circles. Major players in housing, including home builder Plute Group, isn't he the guy over in Plute? Well, like one of the head guys over housing now for Trump. I think he is. Anyway, our early testing with NVIDIA and a California-based startup Span to install small fractional data center nodes in exterior walls of newly built homes. The question of whether the model can scale and whether homeowners and HOAs and regulators will approve it is up for debate. Experts point to some benefits of home-based data center, with the home-based grid allowing for less construction needed. It's technically possible and already being explored. He just said, just as a computer can contribute processing power to a distributed network, a home can compute hardware that feeds into a larger data processing system. Feasibility depends on available power, internet connectivity, heat management, and the type of workload. For batch processing and non-time sensitive tasks, home environment works surprisingly well. Do y'all remember torrents? This is basically torrents. It's batch processing of data. We all used to do that to download illegal songs from Napster. And now they're going to be basically using that same technology to process data and feed it back into a big server somewhere. Interesting. Heat waste from data centers is an issue that receives more attention in Europe. For instance, UK-based startup called HETA, H-E-A-T-A, HETA, installs servers in people's homes that process cloud computing workloads while channeling heat generated directly into the home's hot water cylinder, effectively giving homeowners free hot water in exchange for hosting the hardware. That's a pretty good idea, actually. That's one of the better ideas I've heard of as far as conservation of energy and efficiency of technology. Interesting. At a large scale, operations have just commenced for heat pumps that route waste. This is kind of what you were talking about, Sean. Heat pumps that route waste from heat from Microsoft data centers into Finland to warm up approximately 250,000 local residents' homes. So they're basically using the heat from the machine to go to the heater. I guess you could do that in some cold parts of the U.S. too, right? And then on the hot parts of the U.S., you use the cold. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's so interesting. Okay.
They're pushing for nuclear energy to come back, and you have these companies that are. Yeah. I mean, they're building these micro nuclear plants. Basically, there's a company called Oklo.
Yep.
There's New Scale, or there's another one. And Trump, kind of pushed that to say, hey, if you guys are going to do this, like, you can go nuclear. And so that's what's happening as far as energy consumption goes. And it's going to be way more efficient and they're going to have, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, space is a great idea. I think that's good. But I also see a dystopian future in which we can't see the sun because of all the things that are in the, that's so easy to like write a story about that. All the data being in the cloud, which is actually an atmospheric shield that shields us from UV and the sun and then causes other issues. And now we're down here on the bottom floor among all these sky rises and everybody's impoverished because there's no jobs to do because all the jobs are being done by, it's a fun, like, tech future to think about, really. But
and there's no permitting issues either.
Yeah, there's no permits in space. Well, right now there's not. But are you telling me that in the future there's not going to be space permits? There's definitely going to be space permits. The more we live up there, like right now, I think there's 15 people living in space. Let that sink in. There's 15 people not living on the planet Earth. There's 15 humans living outside of the planet Earth. And I think the highest has been up to 19 people living off planet. And so the more and more people that go up there, the Artemis 2 was a shot around the moon. Artemis 3 is going to re-land on the moon with the goal of living on the moon. So the more people that live out there, the more there's going to be governments and regulations, and somebody's going to shoot up something that shouldn't be up there. And they're going to say, no, you got to take that down. They're going to say, why? There's no rules in space. They're going to be like, okay, then boom, we'll shoot it down. Now there's Space Force. I mean, let's go, right? Let's see where all this stuff leads. It's an interesting future for sure. But I think on the short term, people are going to have to really change their usage, or these data centers are going to be in. That articles did say, but your questions for ChatGPT and Claude aren't likely to be generated from a server in someone's walk-in closet or a basement soon, with those deep interactions with AI still requiring a sprawling data center. So residential environments currently lack the power, density, and redundancy and physical security and the environment controls that an enterprise workload would require. So, but if you could get signal for Wi-Fi and phone, you could power a data center. But if you can't get signal, if you're ever in your house, you're like, oh, I can't get a signal, then you're not going to be on the list. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun future. Go ahead, Matt.
I thought I was the only one then that thought space was going to be libertarian. Is that not the case? I mean, no Republicans, no Democrats in space.
Let's watch Battlestar Galactica and decide which one's Republican and which one's Democrat. Cindy says Kevin O'Leary is trying to put a data center in north of Salt Lake City, which will use more electricity than the entire state of Utah per day. Well, I mean, stop using your Claude, Cindy. She said, as of May 2026, Utah is experiencing massive surge of data center development, highlighted by the approved 40,000 acre Stratus AI project. Wow. I mean, that stuff's going to go anywhere. It's just going to be part of the buildings. I think in the future, they're probably going to do them smarter to where there's other things with that building mixed into, instead of a mixed use where you have commercial and, you know, you have apartments and stuff. You're going to have a data center below ground, and then you'll have a skyscraper built on top of it. So it would not surprise me to see some of these old buildings retrofitted to become data centers. You know, when Cove Pandy happened, I'm still going to say that because I'm still worried about YouTube suppressing our show. But when the Pandy happened and you had all these commercial buildings and commercial infrastructure that was left empty, then I think you're going to have situations in which that commercial infrastructure is filled with data centers. The only problem is they got to use the water and electric and all that stuff. So we shall see. Hey, breaking news. We have breaking news. We went late in the show, and we went late enough to have breaking news from This Week in Real Estate. That's right. Kevin Warsh wins Senate confirmation. This was breaking news right at the top of this Tiny Data Centers article. There he is, Kevin Warsh. Warsh. It's like when you got to wash your clothes in the South. Most Southerners don't say Warsh. It's usually like the Southerners that came from somewhere in the North that say Warsh. It's like a mix. Anyway, Kevin Warsh wins Senate confirmation as the next Federal Reserve Chair. So there it is. Jerome Powell is out. Kevin Warsh is in, a 54-45 vote to confirm. The yays for, oh, that's interesting. They show the yays and nays for the other people. I mean, a lot of this stuff let's say what it is. It's Trump is for the guy, so we're against the guy. But Jerome Powell had an 80 and 19 nays. Janet Yellen had 56-26 nays. Ben Bernanke had 70 yays, 30 nays. So he is the first one to be confirmed with 54 yays. He's in the 50s. No, I don't think anyone else was in the 60s. Oh, Janet was 56. So Janet was close. 18 other voted to Janet. So there you are. We have a new Fed chair. We'll see what happens. Decentralize the Fed. Anyone? Okay, guys. Thanks for listening to the show this week. Thanks for all the participation and for hanging with us for almost 2 hours. It was a long show. And if you were listening to any of this at 2x or 3x, I would love to know what it sounded like when I was reading articles very quickly. Does that bug you? I'm just curious. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining. Find me on Instagram, Razorback, RAYZORBACK. I did have a couple of people reach out last week and ask to see our back-end systems and stuff. I'm happy to show you guys. So if any of you want to see that stuff, want to see what our real brokerage back-end looks like, because it is part of why that partnership with RE/MAX is happening. I had some RE/MAX friends that were like, what does this look like? What are we getting into? So happy to show you guys that stuff. So just let me know. Reach out, Razorback, RAYZORBACK on Instagram. I will see you guys next week. May is halfway over, guys. All right. I'll see you next week. Go sell some stuff. Bye, everybody.